Women Enterprise Fund. So we can empower these communities so that they get alternative sources and forget about our girls, because the only way to protect girls are to protect the perpetrators who are using the girls for economic gains. And finally, Honorable Speaker, is to create awareness among the societies, the communities where FGM is rampant. And I'm counting on the members in this room. As I listen to the introductions, I could assign every community where girls are experiencing the FGM, so that we have concerted efforts and help these girls together through the bursaries that the members sitting in this room are administering, so that we bring down the rates of early marriages and FGM in our country. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Nominee. We'll take
Honorable Speaker,
yes.
I have a follow-up question regarding the two-third gender rule, and I want to ask the nominee, are you aware there was a report in the Parliament and the multi-sectoral working groups on two-third gender rule, and the report is already in the Parliament? Are you aware about that? Because I didn't hear you mentioning that.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I am aware of the task force that was working on, I believe the Honorable Chair is talking about the NATCO report. Is that the one, Honorable Chair? Maybe that, if that is the one, I'm aware. And I thought it was an item which was still under discussion. And maybe the leader of business in the National Assembly will be able to share the same. And I believe now it is still an item still under consideration. And since the honorable member who has mentioned it is part of a team in the National Assembly, I would also persuade her and other women, other honorable women leaders in this House to also support the same, because I believe if we succeed in that proposal, it might be a game changer for the life of the girl and women in this country. Thank you, Honorable Chair.
Passing, you'll pass. Gikaria.
Just for introduction, my name is Gikaria. Pass.
Thank you.
Yeah, Chairman.
Yes, Naisula.
Thank you. To the nominee, I have a very simple question. Gender is mostly misconstrued to be about women and girls, while I also think it is about boys and men. And we're seeing a lot of challenges, which especially our young men and boys are going through. I want to know, if approved by this committee and the National Assembly, what measures will you put in place to ensure that our boys and young men are also taken care of? And finally, your views on femicide and rape, which has become rampant.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I want to appreciate the honorable member who has just asked the question. Those are actually very pertinent issues in our society now. The issue of the boy child and the men is actually one of the emerging gender issues in our communities. As we sit together in this room this afternoon, everybody is aware, every member seated here could be knowing of a case of a boy, either in your neighborhood, either a friend, a child of a friend, or a child of a sister who has gotten involved in issues of drug and substance abuse, cases of mental health, cases of broken marriage relationships. And when you look deep into the issues, Honorable Chair, the issue of the poor child is actually in a crisis situation. Honorable Chair, Honorable Speaker, if you go down the streets in this town, in this city, the number of boys who form part of the street families, you realize that the number of boys in the street family is actually on the increase. When you go to the mental health centers, you find the number of boys also is very high. Cases of femicide that we all witnessed in the recent past, it is our boys who are involved. So I think, Honorable Speaker, as a government, we need to come up with deliberate efforts targeting the boy child, starting from issues of drug and substance abuse, by starting to take most of them which are affected to rehab centers, and move a step higher to give them a reorientation and even train them in areas of their interest. We can take them to TVETs where they can train in areas of where they have technical interests, so that these boys can also be empowered and be made to be useful and to have a gainful engagement, and also to encourage them to start families. Because right now, Honorable Speaker, the empowered girl that we have in our homes today, they have no husbands. Because the boys who are supposed to marry them, they are in drugs, they are involved in femicide because maybe they were disappointed by one woman.
Honorable Speaker.
Yes.
I just want to caution on statements, especially where you're talking about, they need to be married and all these statements. Be very careful on the words you use. Some of young people do not necessarily want to marry at all. Number two, there's a statement that you've used, and someone has sent me a furious message saying that she needs to be careful because you say it without support of a father figure, women can do little to succeed. She's saying she's a daughter of a single mother.
Actually, since it was my question, Chairman,
Yes.
I under your guidance, what you have been saying is that we are not looking for lamentation. I asked for measures and what we are going to do in case you are approved.
Yes, Robert?
Yeah, I also want to caution because she just said that on the matters of femicide, it's our boys that are involved. And without evidence, you can't really accuse anyone.
That is also true, Nominee. Nominee, you are before this committee to demonstrate that if you find favor and His Excellency appoints you, what's your vision? The questions you are being asked is not about general knowledge. It's about if you become the cabinet secretary in this docket, what are you going to do about the plight of the boy child? What are you going to do about femicide? What are you going to do about all the things you have been asked, FGM and so on? So people, members of the public and this team are looking to you to demonstrate your vision for the country and what you can do to improve the space to which the president has nominated you to be. So avoid generalities and histrionics.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, and sorry for the deviation. I want to just add something, Honorable Speaker, that most of the areas that honorable members has asked, they are areas also of research, which I might not have information, I might not have the data, but I could be having general knowledge. And since, Honorable Chair, I'm not an expert, I withdraw my sentiments, and I beg the honorable members to give me an opportunity to continue with the presentation.
We'll go to Owen.
Just a quick one, Honorable, so I can also give guidance. I think, I mean, we would like to see what are the policies, what are the policy gap in the gender sector? What are the legislative gaps in the gender sector? And the other areas that you've been nominated to. You're not just in gender, you're also in culture and something else. Culture, arts, and heritage. Yes. The heritage part is quite important for this nation, but I haven't heard you actually say anything about heritage and what are the issues that we need. Probably I need to ask you, what are the issues in heritage? How are we going? Gede Ruins has been given a title now as one of the UNESCO World Heritage Sites. How is that important to this country? And there are many areas where we have these UNESCO Heritage Sites, but the people there are very poor. They have not had any impact on this world classification in terms of heritage. What is it that you need to do in culture? You know, in terms of performance arts, in terms of young people, content creation, and all that. If you give us that, we'll be able to see, yeah, you really can help this country in the cabinet. I don't have a question. Thank you.
Good. George, no? Mary, you'll pass? I pass. You'll pass. Robert?
Yeah, thank you, Speaker. As a nation, we have toyed with the idea of a national dress for a very, very long time. But we are still stuck in formal wear that is foreign, even during our national events or social engagements. In fact, you can see that when we are doing all this work, we've all been in suits and ties. And even our parliament, we have to be in suits and ties. What do you have to say about that on issues of dress? The Kenyan dress.
Chair, with the gender ministry, that I cannot pass, I have to say something. And my question, one will be on the gender-based violence. And I'm looking on how are you going to do some intervention, because the cases are rising each and every day, especially in the rural setup. And one of the reasons is because there's still some tradition. When these cases happen, the family feels that if we go report, we're exposing our daughters and become a challenge to that daughter to receive some justice. On the same breath, we have seen what is happening in our police stations when these cases are reported. The evidence on some cases have been confiscated, and maybe sometimes the evidence are not there, are not even taken to the courts, and it becomes a very big challenge for these daughters of ours to get some justice. I want just to get from our nominee, what kind of intervention, or rather mitigation, are you really going to do? Because we have good laws, sexual offense bill, we have the victim protection bill, and so many others. But still, each and every day, we are seeing these cases. And it's shocking that you can even see a father raping a daughter, a brother raping a sister. It is really very, very sad, Honorable Chairman. My second question, it is about the issue of our culture and heritage. And I see we have a challenge, especially in preserving and promoting our cultural heritage. Knowing that as a country in Kenya, we are rich in cultural heritage. I'm looking on how are we protecting our right. For instance, the patent right on our kiondo, for instance, from the Kamba land. That kiondo from the Kamba land, that Ushanga from the Ma community, and those regalia from the Pokot and the Turkana. These are all culture. This country is high time that we need to know, how are we showcasing our culture? Do we have a cultural day? Maybe so that all our communities can just come together. We have like a celebration and we showcase where we came from as Africans, as Kenyans, and where we are. Because this is one way even to promote tourism. Because I mean, people will just come on that cultural day and just come to see what Kenya has. So I want to say that we need to tap those available opportunities in terms of culture, art, and national heritage. I thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Yeah, I had not prepared to ask, but Speaker, no, just a moment. I wish you listen to me, Speaker. I said I did not have a question, but I just had an opportunity to peruse a CV, and I noticed something very unprecedented with the civil, the officer in public office. The nominee, you've not gotten...
On which page?
From page 13, basically on her experience and the position she has held, all the way to 21, actually all the way to 23. Not arranged in chronological manner, but from 23, she has served in so many positions across so many ministries, county governments, parastatals. There is no any promotion in one single ministry. So it begs the question, why are you not promoted from where you are? You are always going to another organization, another office, another either county government. Sometimes you are exchanging. Yeah, so I just wanted to know why.
No, I think you're reading it wrong. Yes, because if you look at it from page 20, if you start with page 23, which is the as far back, she was a personnel officer. Then she rose to a district officer 3. Then she rose to assistant secretary. Then she rose to assistant secretary again in the finance division. Yes. And then
I think Caleb never worked in the public service, so he doesn't understand it.
No. I think you didn't get my question. At least if you work in the Ministry of Interior, for example, you will rise up. If it's Division 1, you go to Division 2. My question is that all these organizations, there's no any single workplace you've risen up. You're always going to the next. If
assistant secretary 1, and then at the Ministry of Defense, she was a senior assistant secretary and personal assistant to the permanent secretary. That's a rise.
You could
and
let
under secretary is a rise. No, I think you're being disparaging of women.
Then let the nominee respond. It's just a simple question.
Chairman, point of order. Chairman, just to add on what Caleb has just said, I've also observed that she has been working on a very short period of time. Short period, if you just look, Yeah, maybe we need to understand why, for instance, Minister of Labor, 2005 to June 2008, and there's one which was very short.
Be fair to the nominee in public service order.
Yeah, we just need to understand maybe that trend. We just need to understand.
In public service, Honorable Mishi,
we need to understand.
I'm not defending the nominee, she will answer. But in public service, no servant chooses where to work. You can be rotated around anywhere. I was a magistrate for only 8 months, and I worked in 5 stations. I don't know what you would say about that. Nominee, you've had the questions, including Caleb Amis's question, that you seem to have been marking time in your positions of appointment, and you suffered regular transfers and change of places of work.
Thank you, Chair.
Yes.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I beg to start from the last question so that I clear the air. Honorable Speaker, maybe also to shed some light on the operation of a public service, where I've served for 29 years, Honorable Speaker. In the public service, there is what we call rotation of staff. And in the career, as a career administrator, you can only work in one station for not more than 3 years. I believe that one is clear, Honorable Speaker.
Yes, go on.
And that is a career that you don't just move from one level to another. There are requirements to move from one job grade to another, especially in administration. There are required training, capacity building for you to be allowed to move from one grade to another. So, Honorable Speaker, I started working as an assistant secretary, which is equivalent to DO3 in field administration. I rose to the level of assistant secretary 2. I moved again to 1. I moved again to senior assistant secretary. I moved again to under secretary. I moved again, if you can follow my CV, to senior deputy secretary, where I served for a very long time. And the equivalent position in the field is Deputy County Commissioner 2. So,
which in the old system would be a DC?
DC, which is senior DC. So, Honorable Speaker, the working of a public service is complex, and I appreciate the questions from the members. And like in the first phase that you can see in my CV, I've worked in 3 different state departments.
Move to another question.
Yes. So I believe I've...
Address the question by
Yes.
Owen, then the question by Mishi, and the question by Robert.
Honorable Speaker, I beg to answer the questions from the question of the UNESCO historical sites, which was asked by one of the honorable members. And I want to report that the Republic of Kenya was privileged to be part of the countries whose one site was approved by the UNESCO in the 2024. That is the Kedi ruins as historical sites under preservation and maintenance by the UNESCO, under the UNESCO protocol. So I wanted to just add also on issues of performing artists. Performing artists in the Republic of Kenya are actually assisted through the Kenya Cultural Center, where we have the National Theatre with a comprehensive setup of other facilities which are assisting our performing artists to be able to exploit their talents and develop them and be able to have a gainful, they are able to participate in the economic field, where they are able to exhibit, they are able to perform locally and internationally. Our Constitution, Honorable Speaker, recognizes culture as a foundation of our nation and also as an area where it needs to be preserved and promoted by the nation. And our Constitution recognizes and promotes and recommends that the state should promote issues of cultural heritage, covering issues of our literature, our performing artists, our music, communication, and indigenous, traditional indigenous technologies. It also recognizes that our country is rich in science and indigenous knowledge that needs to be preserved in terms of food preservation, medicine that our communities are able to use, and they are able to earn a living from those cultural practices. Honorable Speaker, there was a question also on the national dress. I want to report that the issue of the national dress is a very key item in building Kenya and promoting our local industries and also promoting our culture. The issue of national dress, Honorable Speaker, is one of the items that were presented in the meeting under the State Department during an Naivasha meeting, which was held last year. And there was a report, and there is a task force that has been constituted to be able to come up with a national dress through a consultative process where we can be able to have a national dress that can be acceptable by all the communities of this republic. And because the challenge that we have had in this past, Mr. Honorable Speaker, is having a national dress in a very diverse community, with very diverse communities like the ones we have in our republic, is a big challenge. So unless we have concerted efforts, it will not be possible to have a national dress that belongs to one community. I think that is what I submit for that particular question, Honorable Speaker.
Go to Honorable Mishi. Mishi, was it on gender-based violence?
Yes, on gender-based violence.
Yes,
Honorable
go ahead.
Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. On gender-based violence and the interventions that I would be able to bring on board if approved by this committee. Honorable Speaker, gender-based violence in our republic is still a very big challenge. And currently we are doing around 36 and 47% cases are reported in our republic arising from issues of gender-based violence. Honorable Speaker, to be able to stabilize and create an environment, an equitable environment free from